I am Danny Puckett. I am the Adult Services Librarian at the W. Walworth Harrison Library here in Greenville. And I've worked here for 4.5 years now. And one of the things I really enjoy is doing research. And so this is what I'm going to present to you all is the history of the libraries in Greenville. And the current library is the 4th library, so I'm going to take you back in time to when the first library started. The first library started with the Women's Review Club back around the turn of the 20th century. They saw a need for libraries, and they actually developed the first library that was developed was actually in a furniture store called Lassiter Furniture, and it was in a corner of that store, a very small section. And it was so popular that they ended up moving that location to another location. Actually, it ended up at the corner of northwest corner of Stonewall and Crockett Streets. And they ended up, I'm not sure what the name of the building was, but they ended up on the 2nd floor of that building. Well, the library was so popular at that point that those in the women's club especially, they realized there was a need to have a larger library and have its own building. And so the Women's Review Club ended up, they were aware that the Andrew Carnegie Foundation was providing funding for libraries across the United States. And Mr. W.H. Williams was a banker here in town for the Greenville National Bank. And he made the first contact with the Carnegie Foundation by mail, of course, back in 1903, just to make contact to see what was necessary for us to be able to receive funding for a Carnegie library. He ended up getting a very quick response from the Carnegie, either from Andrew Carnegie or his associates. So what he ended up receiving information on very quickly, they were offering the city of Greenville $15,000 to build a library here in town. But there were 2 stipulations with that. They had to have a piece of land purchased for the library to sit on, to occupy, and they also had to provide $1,500 annual $1,500 annual expense budget that would help fund the library and all the operations associated with it. That includes books, that includes whatever utilities they had, every payroll, that includes all those things, but they had to have at least that much available before they could receive the funding for the library, which ended up being $15,000. So this is the issue the city had, was that people in Greenville were not wealthy for the most part. There were not really any industries here that provided fairly high income, which probably means a lot of the jobs were agricultural in nature. So that was definitely a problem. And that's where this lady came into play. This is Mrs. W.H. Harrison, also known as May, and she was the president of the Greenville Federation of Women's Clubs. And what they were all able to do was a major league fundraiser which touched every person in this community, and they were able to get enough money, to raise enough money to purchase a property, and then they were able to had enough money, $1,500 at least in their budget, where they could fund the library, which was, those are basically the stipulations of the Carnegie Foundation. So she ended up, again, raising the money, and a property ended up being purchased on Stonewall Street, where the current Chamber of Commerce is located. But again, she was the essential player in helping to develop the kind of campaign necessary so that the money could be raised. And the people of Greenville were very generous and supported the campaign. The next up will be more of the history of the Carnegie Library. This is a picture of the Carnegie Library, and actually it's nice that it's in color. It was the construction, once the funds were raised and all the requirements were met with the Andrew Carnegie Foundation, they were able to start construction in the fall of 1903, and the building was completed and opened February 15th, 1904. And that building was used for about 50 years. It was a building. It was two-story for one thing, which I would love to have toured this building, just because most libraries are only a single story. And it would have been neat to have just been able to go around and look. But anyway, this is a picture of that location of the building that was located again where the current Chamber of Commerce is located at. To fast forward to 1953, this building unfortunately had structural issues, and the building was condemned. And so in that year, the city of Greenville ended up having a bond issue, and it was a $300,000 bond issue, and $90,000 was earmarked for a new library location, which I'll tell you more about in a moment. But the voters approved the city of Greenville bond issue, and then that allowed the staff at the library to be able to prepare for a move and to salvage what they could of the books and sell what they didn't want to keep and get all those books packed and over to the new location. So this is again the picture, and it was the building. The reason that the Chamber of Commerce is currently on this location is because once the building was condemned and evacuated, that was in May of 1954, the city sold the property to the Greenville Chamber of Commerce for $10,000. And so then this building was raised or leveled, and then they built their building there. This is the library that's on. This is the library that existed This is the library on Lee Street that was at, I think, 3712 Lee Street, and it opened. The grand opening for this building was, it would have been June 13th, 1954. So, and this building was considered a very modern building for its time. Again, the approximate cost of construction was like $90,000. And so this building was used and occupied until, I think the last day this library was used was May 6th, 1996. So this building this particular library was in use for 42 years. Now this library on Lee Street went through a really special name change in 1976. All the previous libraries were known as the Greenville Public Library, even the Carnegie was. And then this gentleman is Mr. W. Walworth Harrison, and that's really what the focus of this program is about, is the history of the W. Walworth Harrison Library. And in it was March 23rd, 1976, Mr. Harrison was someone he was known as Mr. Greenville. He was very civic-minded, like his family was, and he wrote a lot of documents advertising the city. He was a speaker. He loved public speaking. He enjoyed marketing the city to the world. And he wanted to encourage businesses and people to locate to this area. He was someone that was very prominent in terms of different celebrations in the city of Greenville. He was instrumental in the Diamond Anniversary of Greenville, which happened in 1925. And he was instrumental in programming the programs for the new courthouse. It was finished in 1929. And he was also instrumental in the Centennial of Greenville, which happened in 1950, in planning programs and writing articles and things like that. He loved history like his mother, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. He was involved in the Hunt County Historical Society, and he served 2 terms as president, and he saved different historic homes. He and his mother, May, were, in other words, Mrs. W. Walworth Harrison, both loved history and both wrote books about the city. But not only it was the city, her book was titled "History of Greenville and Hunt County," and her book was published in 1916. And then he did a follow-up edition with that in 1977. His book was called, which we have at the library, and his book was titled "History of Greenville and Hunt County." He didn't put a history; he just put history of Greenville and Hunt County there. But he was just a very prominent citizen that really loved the city of Greenville, and the city of Greenville honored him on March 23rd, 1976. But in 2 different ways. They honored him by declaring it W. Walworth Harrison Day, and then the name of the Greenville Public Library on Lee Street was renamed the W. Walworth Harrison Public Library. And he was just overwhelmed with gratitude and joy concerning this incredibly special honor. He was born here in Greenville, February 11th, 1892, and he passed away at the age 87 on May 24th, 1979. And what's special about the honors he was bestowed by the city, not only with W. Walworth Harrison Day, but the renaming of the library, he was alive to experience those special honors or blessings, and he was just overwhelmed. There's not words to describe how grateful he was, how surprised he was that he received such an honor as he did from the city. The current library, which is at number 1 Lou Finney Lane, the land was donated by Jack and Lou Finney for this, where the library currently stands. In 1992, the city of Greenville had another bond issue, and it was primarily to build a new library. And so what they did was a $1.5 million bond issue, and it was passed by the voters. And this library ended up being, I'm not sure when the construction started on it, but it was completed, and it first initially opened for business on May 20th, 1996. Now the library on Lee Street actually closed about 2 weeks earlier. It was open it opened on June 13th, 1954, and it closed on May 6th, 1996. So about 2 weeks later, after all the moving, all the transition happened, then this library, the current location, opened up, and the main celebration for that event was on June 22nd, when a lot of dignitaries and city dignitaries and other dignitaries came in, and they were just had a grand celebration about this new library, and a very modern library for its time. The library itself consists of 24,000 square feet and is meant to hold about 100,000 volumes. And so it's a remarkable library for that time. We are really blessed over the last, since 2008, to be a library that has received immaculate rewards from the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. And we have won awards for customer service and just for programs and marketing and all we've been doing since 2008. And this is the picture of the latest award that we received, or plaque that we received, that represents the hard work of all the staff at the library. And so it's just been an honor being able to work at the library. And I am the Adult Services Librarian. I also work in the genealogy area and local history area. So we'd certainly like to invite anyone who'd like to learn more about the history of the library and just Greenville history in general. Come on in. We'd be more than happy to help you with that kind of research, or researching your family ancestors and those you're looking for, especially those who have Hunt County connections. We will do the best we can to help you with that. And the library just has a tremendous staff. Christy Melton is our children's librarian, and she's really done a great job in developing more programs for children. And we have a great director in Olivia Griggs, who is doing a fantastic job. And our goal is to continue to win these awards, to provide the high quality of service to all the citizens of Greenville and Hunt County. We want to continue to win this award for as many years as we can. We up our standards every year to allow us to continue to hopefully continue to win this special award. It's my honor to present information about the history of the W. Walworth Harrison Library, and we thank each of the citizens of this community for your financial support, and it's for the honor of serving each of you. I am Danny Puckett. I am the Adult Services Librarian at the W. Walworth Harrison Library here in Greenville, Texas.
This video has been brought to you by Juice 34. Juice is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.
When you pick Juice Internet, you get more quality service with free same-day installation, more options for packages, either standalone internet or bundled with cable TV, more hometown pride with employees and decision makers right here in Greenville, more reliability when you need it most, and more convenience with bills rolled in with your other utilities, along with easy drive-through service. Nobody does internet like Juice. So when you're ready for more, you know who to call. Juice Internet. Hometown service, world-class reliability.